Welcome to the episode 15 of the Office Hours podcast. Mo is back today. Regarding episode 14, there was a little bit of a technical mishap and parts of the audio haven't recorded cleanly. Hopefully, I'll get a chance to fix that since it was my voiceover only, and I might just overdub it once I get a chance. So, hopefully, that episode will be released sometime later. It was a pretty interesting conversation, a little bit controversial, but that only makes it that much more interesting. I'm very interested in what kind of topic we're going to be chatting today, so I guess we'll see. We'll get into it right away, but before we get into that, I'd just like to remind everyone that you can join the Telegram channel and subscribe. Since last released episode, we have gained some subscribers. I think we're up to 45 now, so it's pretty exciting. The number slowly keeps growing, which is kind of cool, not gonna lie. And hopefully it keeps growing and we'll reach some triple digit numbers in a short while. So yeah, thank you everyone for being with us and joining us for this conversation. And Mo, let's take it away.
Thank you, Vasili. How you doing?
Oh, I am so busy. I am so busy. I've neglected. I was gonna say neglected my hygiene, but that's not. It's not as bad yet. But like I haven't had a haircut in a while. Like I haven't had a chance to shave. I'm working. I don't know, 12, 13, 14-hour days for the last month, trying to work on work stuff and then work on a little side project that my friends and I are building. And work stuff's been crazy. We're approaching Black Friday, which is always a massive thing, and it's a flu season now. And I work for digital pharmacy, so flu season is a big deal for us as well. So everything's been kind of crazy. Every evening I just fall flat and pass out, and then every day in the morning it just starts all over again. So the days have been blurred into one day for the last month. It's been kind of crazy. I probably haven't worked that hard in a really long time, but hey, you got to do what you got to do. How about yourself?
Very good, very good. I've been a bit under the weather for a while. I mean, you know about that. But just now, you telling me what's going on reminded me of what I actually wrote about yesterday in my blog. It was about burnout. You know how we talk a lot about that. So just you having to do all this work, having this crazy schedule, kind of gave me some kind of how do you say it? PTSD. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure you know about this, and you you be you take care, and I know. But today, what I really wanted to discuss with you is something we've touched on a few times, maybe, but I was reading about other people's opinion, and I wanted to chat more about it with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's about generative AI.
All
So
right.
that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
And what I actually want to talk about is I read about a blog. Someone was comparing the effect of generative AI on SEO, um, the SEO industry. Apparently, the SEO industry is worth about $68 billion or $100 billion, about that. I didn't even know it was that big, and I'm wondering. But I now understand that the purpose and the reason why people invest so much money into this. And also in the write-up, I also learned how it can affect, but I want to see your opinion. So the person had written that the issue with generative AI is that now you can just seek information and it gives you exactly what you're looking for. Before, you go to Google and then you put in a few things about a topic or something, and then you see like a list of information being returned back to you, and then you have to search, and people actually pay active money, invest a lot in being ranking themselves in this position. So now people no longer have to go through these ranks. They just go exactly to what they're looking for, and the AI, some of these new popular ones like the uh, Bing search, and are probably bad, or ChatGPT. I don't even know if ChatGPT, but yeah, it's also connected to the internet now. So like these AIs, I think they replace how search is being done. But I'm curious, how do you feel about this?
Well, I don't think that my thinking has changed dramatically since last time we spoke. I still think that I don't know if it's a good direction. I mean, I understand why it's happening, but overall, I feel like you can basically be given a tailored reality that you are inhabiting through all of the media that you consume, right? Like there's no longer a really good way to understand when the data you're receiving is genuine or not, right? And that is, I think that is concerning. I remember there was this old movie with Robert De Niro and Dustin Hoffman called Wag the Dog. You know, the expression, the dog thinks that the dog is wagging its tail, but in reality, it's the tail that wags the dog. And that movie goes into this PR firm or something creating basically a virtual war in some European country to help some candidate in American election cycle retain his position or like win a new position or something. So they create this fake war where they like film people on green screen running away from supposed bombings or gunfire. And none of it is happening in reality, but because it's on television, people think that that's actually what's happening, right? Because they don't know any better. Like none of them have the means to fly to that country and validate it independently to say if it's true or not. And it's on the news, and everybody trusts the news, right? So like their reality has been shaped by this virtual event. And I mean, that's a movie from the 90s where we've only dreamed about such like in their case they actually had to have like a whole Hollywood style production company, you know, with a whole bunch of people working on it to produce this and, you know, make it authentic or appear authentic. And now with a generative AI, you write a prompt and it can basically generate all of this for you without anyone's involvement, which is another thing that I just thought about is when you have like a team of 100 people working on production like this to create some fake narrative, all of those 100 people have been there, and they, you know, they can corroborate and say, oh yeah, you know, I've been there, you know, the moon landing is totally fake, here's the pavilion where we filmed the whole thing. But with generative AI, the only person that knows it is the one that wrote the prompt, and everything that's generated out of it, like no one else has seen it being done. You know, you can just inject this information into the information stream, and you know, there's very difficult to verify if it's authentic or not. And you know, the model for search engines hasn't been about search as much as it has been about advertisements, right? So if they can give you the type of data that you likely, you know, buy more things, they will do it. And with generative AI, again, they can formulate this virtual reality that you live in that has very little to do with the actual things that are happening, as long as you keep clicking on those links and buying those products. So to me, while technologically it is awesome in a sense that it creates the sense of awe in terms of like how far we've gone in such a short span of time, from a purely kind of just personal view on this, like I don't know. I don't think that's a good thing. I don't think that it will be like a net benefit to humanity. It might be a net benefit to people running these algorithms. Uh, and again, I'm not denying that there's no legitimate uses. I remember there was a paper recently about like AIs being really great at like summarizing authentic information, so it's like more easily digestible. So there's definitely uses for that. But to me, my big concern is this, you know, fake reality generation for people. And already We kind of live in the age of a narrative where there's like competing narratives. There's no unbiased presentation of the world, some might say. Like there's always some narrative that's involved, and there's just some people subscribe to one narrative and other people subscribe to the other, but they have like very little in common. And you can even have the same facts on the ground being covered from two different perspectives that create two completely different narratives that are completely orthogonal to one another. And I think it leads to additional division among people as well, because everybody can find something that aligns broadly with how they see the world. And you can already do that. Your algorithms on YouTube, like I imagine that like whatever YouTube suggests I watch and whatever YouTube suggests you watch are going to be vastly different, right? Just based on our personal preferences. And so if that's your only channel for receiving information about the world, we're going to have two very, very different worldviews, right? And I don't know. I don't think it's good. I think
Uh,
that, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, just my immediate thoughts about this suggestion. Um, I think we have different interests too. So for the YouTube algorithm suggesting different videos to you and to me, I think that's a really, I would say it's impressive in a way, because since we don't have the same interests, like I watch a lot of football, so like soccer, I would say, and I don't know if you are into football like that. Like, so if imagine if like YouTube feeds you all these videos, then you probably don't want to go back on YouTube. So I think I'm not too sure if that's a bad thing or not, but but for the other part, I think um generative AI being able to give summarized information about the information on the internet, especially if you can like create summarize authentic information, I think that would be a good thing. But in this context, what I'm really curious about is how it affects SEO and rankings and being visible on the internet. Because, like I said earlier, like a lot of people spend a lot of money on this, including myself, because I do e-commerce, and I know how much investment it is to try to get your stores to be reachable and all this kind of thing. So I'm just curious about how these AI tools are going to replace these skills, and at what point should we now start getting a bit concerned? Because imagine, let's say a company spends an e-commerce company spends like just spent about thousands of dollars on some SEO consultants, or like on some SEO tools or something, just to help them get better ranking. When someone searches for a particular product, you be the first store to show up, or like all these kind of things, the competition and distance. And now if someone on a Binge search just ask Binge to give me the um, best shoe for, I don't know how it works on Bing search now, but someone searches for these things directly, and the AI just picks the first 10. From where does it pick these first 10 on the list, first of all? And they're kind of like, i- in my imagination, it looks like a Russian roulette at this point, because he just randomly picks these 10, and based on some um, algorithms for it to determine the best and maybe the most popular, all these kind of things. And it kind of affects all the good work that other people are doing on the other side of a search engine optimization. So um, on one side, um, Google and these search engines have also helped build this industry. But on the other side, it's still these same search engine companies that are also still giving these generative AI companies the leverage, the environment to actually um, go against everything that we have built together in this search engine industry. So it's a bit confusing. Like on one side, if you're a user, it's good. You can directly just go. But in terms of like being a company, being a business, or running uh, a blog or something on the internet that you need some people to find you easily, I'm not sure exactly how this helps anyone.
Right,
Did you
I
understand?
see. Yeah, I think I probably did not understand your question in the beginning, but I think I have a better idea now. Which, I mean, it doesn't invalidate the things that I said before, and ultimately, from the very beginning, SEO was kind of a black magic. Like nobody really knows how it works. And people say, "Oh, we did all of these things and your search conversion rate has increased." But I think that there isn't really a good way of direct causal relationship between the things that SEO optimization people do and the actual result. Like it could be just correlation. It could not necessarily be causal. I read this blog from this marketing agency about like the situation with these things, and it's interesting. I also remember reading an article a couple of months, maybe half a year ago, where a company said that we canceled all of our promotions, like ads. Maybe it's not exactly to do with search engines, but like ads, like targeted ads on platforms like Facebook and Google. They turned them all off entirely, and it was like $1 million budget on ads. And I imagine with SEO is similar. People pay a lot of money to get higher in ranks, right? They said they turned it off and they've seen no change to the amount of orders that they were getting. So they were basically spending $1 million for nothing. And with SEO, it's this constant battle. Like there's this like the battle of a projectile versus the armor. The armor stops a projectile, so they make a bigger projectile, and then that in turn causes new forms of armor to be developed. It's just this constant game where each side never stops. So the same thing here. Originally, when search engines were really, really stupid and they verbatim lifted all of the information from the page and they had some trivial algorithms on how to rank it so people would abuse it. And SEO, a lot of times back in those days, it was like dark SEO. We're going to use all of these tricks. Like we're going to put a bunch of keywords with white font on white background so a regular person doesn't see it, but the search engine just reads the text on a page. It cannot interpret colors. So we're going to just overload it with keywords and our result starts floating to the top. And then search engines clued into that. And, so again, they have countermeasures to abuse. People come up with new strategies to do that. And so it goes. It's like a game of ping pong that ball constantly, flips over the net and they keep kind of raising the stakes and it gets progressively more and more difficult. So now it's effectively they're going to have AI on one side generating keywords and descriptions and meta tags, and then they're going to have AI on the other side trying to detect whether or not that thing is genuine or not. And again, it's just, the battle never continues. It just like reached this new level of the playing field. And so in terms of overall effect, I think that in these types of things, you might have the first mover's advantage. Like if you were the one using SEO using generative AIs for your SEO in like day one, you might get some benefit, but as these tools get opened up to everybody, the playing field just levels automatically. Like what difference does it make if you're using SEO if you're using AI for SEO if everybody else is using AI for SEO? We just like reach this new point of equilibrium now, and it doesn't really make any difference.
Yeah, but how do you even use it for? Because I don't think these generative AI companies, their applications are not even open source,
Mm.
and um, so the data is not available for everyone to work with. So my question now is, how do you even get into that side of the playing field? Say, for example, you want uh, every time someone asks question about your domain or things you do on the internet, and you want ChatGPT or Bing search to always recommend your page first.
Mm.
How do you even get into this? Do you get it by popularity on regular search engines, or do you have to how I'm not I mean it's possible that we might not even be able to determine exactly what the response is, because that would depend on the algorithm and
Right.
what the definition of the prompts are. So for
Yeah.
example, to select the best online stores or like best tech blogs, that would determine, that would be based on the definition of best,
Mm.
on how these tools are defining it.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
what are the properties? But I'm just curious, like, what do you
Yeah.
think?
I,
Like,
I, I
how do you
think
get
that,
into that field?
yeah, I see your point. I think that those things were black box before, as in nobody really knew how it was working. And with AI, it's even more of a black box now. Like we can speculate about the algorithm and oh, we use GAMs to train our networks to generate all of this content, and like it's self-reinforced and blah 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 on all these terms. I don't know enough about it in practical terms to kind of have a good answer. We can, I mean, what I'm saying is like we can talk about algorithms and we can talk about this or that, but when it comes to why did algorithm pick this sentence instead of that sentence, nobody knows. I don't think that people who build these AIs know exactly how they work. They happen to put the parts in the right order to make the output reasonable, but in terms of what's actually going on, your guess is as good as mine. I mean, it's like how does your brain work? How do you figure out which sentence you're gonna say next? What how do you figure out what word you're gonna say next? There's a broad theme, but you'd never stop and pause and think about it. So it's kind of it's like a scaled down version essentially. It is a neural network, like it's simulating our brain process to some very very simple amount. And so maybe there's a way to brute force it in terms of you just try all sorts of different strategies and see what sticks in terms of like what appears in your search engine output based on these criteria. And now again, with automation and proliferation of cheap compute, maybe you can do that. Maybe you can just, or not you, I mean, but somebody who like people learned all sorts of tricks to do SEO that they would not share with anybody else, right? So that they have an edge and they have an advantage. And I'm pretty sure somebody is already working on it now and figuring out how to have an edge over these new systems up until, they change the algorithm yet again, or it gets better at recognizing when it's trying to be, had.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing too, I mean, in this industry, we talk a lot about hype. And a lot of these companies, they have, I mean, AI is hype right now. Whether or not they produce results or not, there's going to be so many companies that are just vapor. But, they have nice marketing websites and cool slogans and hype. And we do AI, we're going to optimize the crap out of your search engine results. Are they going to deliver on that promise? And again, because of its nature, because you cannot exactly correlate, you can maybe correlate things, but you're not necessarily able to determine the causal nature of things. Like okay, say you sign up with this company and you start using their product, but you're like working on your content and on your website at the same time. It's not like you just have this website, you turn it on, and then you see the line go up. Maybe if that's the case, maybe the product works. But if you're constantly putting new content out and you're doing all of these things, who's to say that the line is going up is because of their product versus your content is actually getting better? Like they can claim it's because of them, but you can't prove it. And, in many areas of life, people will pay money, and the fact that they paid money for something will justify their outlook on what the result is. It's like, well, I paid money for it. The line went up. I'm happy. But, it wasn't necessarily because they did it, right? Maybe it was some other factors, but they're not going to go back and think like, oh, maybe if I haven't spent all of this money, I would have achieved the same result. And so a lot of these type of products can live for quite a while without providing any sort of tangible benefit. It's just nobody cares because. So I don't know. I'm usually cautiously optimistic about these things, And in terms of SEO, I really don't care. The whole point of a lot of the sites is to try to sell me things that I not necessarily need. But that's just me. I'm very what's the word? Um, Not frugal, but what's the word for like Spartan? You know, I don't need much. So when somebody's trying to sell me some fancy gadget, I'm like, yeah, I don't really care. So SEO, I don't know. Maybe again, maybe I'm completely bamboozled and I buy things because of advertisement and I just pretend to think that that's not the case. But yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. You know what? I'm pretty sure this might be the case
Mm,
because um I've learned a lot about marketing and I know how it works these days. It's like every time you pass in front of a very cool art or something that gets your attention one time, you probably don't respond to it the first time. You probably don't respond to it the third time, but it gets in your mind and then you think about it. And then while thinking about it, you start creating a need for it.
mm,
And well, then you start thinking about this art or this thing that was talked about as being the solution to the to what you have created. And
mm.
it's a weird, it's very weird
It is very weird.
that way.
I just,
But
yeah, I think that the whole style of if we want to sell people something, we must present as if they have a problem that our thing will solve. And that's essentially marketing in a nutshell. Uh,
exactly. So,
but
but
the thing is,
now they don't.
I know quite well the things that will the problems that I have and what will potentially solve them or not. So a lot of that stuff just
Mhm.
plus I'm running ad block all the time. I don't watch television, so I don't watch advertisements on television. I don't get too many advertisements in my daily browsing activities. So the only ads that I'm being exposed to is like billboards on the street. And even then, these days where I live, it's all realtors. So I don't give a crap about that. I already bought a house. And yeah, like what else are they gonna sell me? And like do I buy some particular brand of detergent at the store because I've seen the advertisement for it, or it's just like they sell three brands and this one happens to be closer to the exit from the aisle, so I just pick it up. I honestly don't give a crap. They're all the same. There's this paradox of choice where, oh, there's 25 brands of cereal, and it's like, well, I mean, I personally don't care about cereal in the slightest, so even if there was 100, but like they're all still produced by the same company at the same factory, so they're just marginally different proportions of sugar to everything else, and that's in different color box. But you're basically getting the same thing. For most things you buy, you're basically getting the same thing. There's very few qualitative differentiating factors. It's going to have different packaging. It's going to have slightly different content, but broadly, like 95% is going to be same. So if you swap one for the other, it's like preferring Coke versus Pepsi. It's sugar, water. Some people like one, some people like the other. Basically, same thing. Couldn't care less. And I mean, and the advertisements aren't even good for it these days. Like, remember the Pepsi advertisement with Cindy Crawford when she was just absolutely gorgeous looking? And it was like a cool advertisement or like some Coca-Cola advertisement. Now all these advertisements are crap. Every time I see some advertisement, like, are they trying to sell me their product or are they trying to sell me their political ideology? I'm confused. So, like, it's literally no point.
You know what's interesting about this? We can protect ourselves because like we all do this, like put like ad blocks and all these things, and even maybe on social media, but we cannot protect ourselves from other people who consume it who happen to be around us. So, for example, like let's say your partner or like your friends or like these people, and then you're just talking about something that you really like. But they have watched these things and then they're going to recommend it to you. So at the end of the day, indirectly or indirectly, we all still consume it, yeah? But another question that I wanted to ask you is about the SEO itself.
Mm,
So earlier you mentioned something about money, about that company that that removed the budget on Facebook, and their numbers didn't go down. So I'm just curious now, like, so did you also find out about what they were doing, about
I
how they were
don't remember the
getting?
specifics, to be honest. I'm pretty sure you can find that article. It's been fairly prominent. But before we even get to it, like, if all advertisement disappeared tomorrow, would people stop buying things all of a sudden? I don't think so. People still need stuff, so they're still gonna buy stuff. And like, is advertisement directly responsible for people buying this stuff versus that stuff? To me, that's a big maybe. I don't think there's a definitive answer. And so again, like, does it matter? I don't know.
I think it does. I think it does. I think so for now, like it's so if you have, because there's a lot of competition in the market, and you want to stand out, not necessarily because your product is exactly different, but you want to build a brand for yourself. So the use of advertisement is not to get people to buy it now. It's for awareness, and also there's a connection between like the product and the mind. So like I was explaining something earlier, like you don't even know that you need it. You don't even think you need it right now. But there will come a time where there will be a thought. But the moment you've seen the image, or like the art, or like the ad, and then you then go about your life thinking you don't need, and then you start creating a need for it
I think there's very
somehow.
weak connection to that. I don't think that's how it works. I honestly
I'm
don't.
pretty sure,
You
like,
know,
no, there are like a lot of readings about this, like the psychology of marketing and on all these things. So it's like this. So that's why, like, sometimes they're not even trying to like
of
they're not
course,
even
people
trying
who's
to.
gonna sell you marketing will tell you that marketing works, because otherwise you wouldn't buy it. So in fact, they're trying to market you the thing. And again, if they didn't tell you the marketing worked, would have you gone and buy ads?
Well,
Mm,
I mean, probably. I mean, maybe, but I know it does. Like because I've used it,
mm,
and I know there is some benefits to it. But what I was just curious about is I was wondering if the company you had mentioned
mhm.
it stopped paying Facebook, because I know like it's still part of SEO. So the way marketing with like social media companies help you to improve your
Hmm.
rankings on the SEO is because so many people actually click on, probably you have like a lot of clicks, and then they click through to your website, and then it improves the integrity of your website. Somehow it affects the rankings and all of that. So I was just wondering, like, so if they stop the ads, um how long did it, I mean, these questions, I don't know
I
if
don't
you know.
necessarily know the answer to that. Yeah.
I know,
I
but
think I
it's
think
just something I'm
yeah, I think I see
curious
where you're
about.
going with this. And I was going to talk about it too, is that search engine companies, they're no longer search engine companies, they are marketing companies, they're advertisement companies. And
Absolutely.
so the sets of incentives that they have, I don't know, I'm big on incentives. I think a lot of things can be explained with incentives, right? So the
Yeah.
set of incentives that they have are going to be different. And you say, oh, if you're not paying us for advertisements on our platform, why would we put results about your company in the search output on our platform, right? So it's like, as long as
Mm.
you keep paying us for ads, we're gonna have you ranking high. But if you don't pay us for ads, we're just gonna not bother doing that. And wherever you rank, and who cares? But isn't that kind of extortion, though?
It's business.
That is extortion. I mean, it is business, but that is extortion. You're
How is it
claiming,
extortion? I'm
well,
curious.
pay up or else. How is that not extortion? Like, if you don't pay us for advertisement, we're not gonna show you in the search engine output. Okay,
uh
so it's like, if you don't pay, it's, I don't know. In the end, it devolves into this kind of protection racket with extra steps. It's like, you wouldn't want anything
I
bad
see
to
your
happen
point.
to your search results now, would you?
I see your point, yeah, but at the same time, the search engine company is, it's a company, it's a business, right? So and I think um not everyone can get to can have this ranking, you know. Not everyone um would be able to just rank number one. I mean, there should be some basics. I agree with you. There should be some like base.
Yeah,
But imagine like everyone, if you start a company today and you start selling on Google today,
right.
you cannot have the same rank as like Adidas or like as like Nike or like these top companies that have been existing for many, many
But
years.
are you
If
selling
you
sneakers specifically with your company?
if you are,
Yeah,
even if you are,
right,
like
right.
I don't know, like I mean, I see your point, but it's just like I'm not too sure how that's extortion. I think it's business.
No, 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 no. I'm not saying that. I'm just specifically like if you can advertise through Google and Google can also index your page, does the relationship between your position in rankings on Google does it correlate with the fact whether or not you pay them money for advertisement on Google platform? I don't know that. Maybe it doesn't. I
I
would
know.
hope
I
that
can
it
answer.
doesn't. But
I
I
can
mean,
answer
they
it.
have the sponsored links which are on
Mhm,
top, and then they have
mhm,
the non-sponsored links that are close to the top. And
mhm.
do people just pay outrageous sums of money to keep themselves floating to the top? So, but in this case, it's not necessarily the content that gets them close to the top. If it's the fact that they pay for it. And again, the incentive for the company in this case, it's not provide the most accurate search results. It's to provide the search results that will make the most money. So if somebody's paying them $2 per click, they rather put them at the top level compared to somebody who pays them 50 cents per click, because if people click they make more money. And arguably this whole thing is
Absolutely.
like big numbers. It doesn't really
Mhm.
matter what the content of your advertisement or SEO optimization is. If you put link in front of more people, statistically, if some percentage clicks on those links, if there's more people looking at it, you're going to get more clicks. It has nothing to do
Absolutely.
with specific quality of the thing you sell or whatever. It's just like I'm a person that clicks on first link in Google and is happy with that. If it's shown to 10 people, one person clicks, but if it's shown to 10,000, 1,000 people click, like quality of your product or anything or quality of your description or quality of your SEO had nothing to do with it. It's just more people seen it, more people funnel down. And yeah,
That's true. That's absolutely true. Yeah, I think I see that. But yeah, that's an interesting view
yeah, it's just do they, do
because
they do they have the actual power to sway the public's opinion based on
yeah,
something else rather than just showing your link to more people at this given time, right?
yeah.
It's
But
hard to say. I can't answer that question, but right now I'm not really
yeah.
advertising anything anywhere. And the funny thing is like we had a
Yeah.
website that was very specific
Mhm.
and we put some random keywords in the meta tags because we built it as kind of a mini hackathon type deal. Never paid a single cent for advertisements, never paid anyone to do SEO, and it was for a specific set of keywords that was fairly broad. It was number one in Google for like years up until they completely just uh, null routed it because it was a political thing and it didn't agree with the politics that Google had at the time. So they just pretended the website doesn't exist anymore. Haven't paid a single red cent for it and it was number one and then it disappeared. So I don't know. I don't know how to
Yeah, I
explain it.
mean,
I don't know if that was
I
just
see your point.
genius selection of keywords or you know, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? But another thing I wanted to ask you about discuss with you about generative AI is recently OpenAI just added the how do you call it now? Is it a plugin or like just a feature of interacting with DALL-E? That's the image
Mm-hmm.
the image generating
Yeah.
AI for OpenAI. And have you used it
No.
actually?
No. I've seen some examples, but I haven't been that fascinated with AI. I just completely ignore everything or most things that are happening in there. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I have. But and then when I did, I was thinking how how these tools are going to affect generally like tutorials and like learning and originality in software development
Yeah.
these days, because um with the AIs, with these chat AIs, um I can already see how the trend of people actively going through blogs, tutorials, even Stack Overflow recently, they had a downsizing recently in the company. And I can see how these things will affect these companies. And I'm wondering, will this change the whole um, dynamics of learning in software development? Or does this, and this change, will it be like an improvement, or like, what do you think?
Yeah. It's hard to say. I mean, my opinion is that there is no originality with generative AI. Like, it maybe I shouldn't be as absolutist about it. I mean, arguably, the whole expression, the music has 7 notes and everything is just a rearrangement. So there's nothing original there, but that's obviously not true. But in this case, uh, anyway, it's probably not as absolutist, but I still my vague sense around it is that like it can't really produce original output in a sense that it is something qualitatively new and different. It is mostly just reimaginings of existing things, which is fair enough. In terms of how it's going to affect learning, we did talk about it before, and as a person who doesn't know, who's learning, you have no way of verifying that what's been told to you is objectively true or not. You just don't. I mean, for maybe some basic things, you have the capacity to reason about it and figure it out. But I don't know if like there's these occasional threads on Reddit about people saying how, their parents told them some fact when they were a child and they kept believing it up until like their 20s, and that was just completely bogus, and their parents were just having a little bit of fun, you know. And and that's exactly the same thing. Like people imprint on knowledge pretty quickly, and it's once it happens, it's really easy, or sorry, it's really difficult to undo it. And I've witnessed it myself with students when I was teaching people code. People would imprint on some bad patterns, like a duckling imprints on a first large object it perceives as its parent, that whole thing. Like, if a first thing a little duckling sees is a human being, to that duckling, that human being is its mom, and it's just going to follow it everywhere, and just think that it's one giant duck, right? And that's everything that thing does is perfectly normal for a duck. And it's impossible to undo that. In case of humans, it's very difficult to undo that. It's possible, but the first bit of knowledge that somebody picks up, that is the authoritative bit of knowledge, and everything else stems from that. So if you can't tell the difference, if you can't tell between authentic, genuine things and second order simulacrum derivative that some chat GPT produced, you're gonna use that as a basis and foundation for your knowledge. And if that fact is incorrect, you're screwed, and you don't even know that. So it's very difficult, because again, it can produce so much information, most of it which could be correct, and just some of it will be incorrect. So it just has like a little poison pill within it somewhere, and you're gonna trip over it one day. Um, so to me, that's kind of that's the danger there. It can definitely be used for it, and probably will, and already is. And I think that as long as it is a tool, um, it's probably fine. But there's still something to be said about the human intellect and the hand that's holding the tool versus the tool itself, right? So as long as the hand that's holding the tool is attached to somebody with the brain who has the right reasons and skills to use the tool, it'll be fine. But if you give a fragmentation grenade to a monkey, it's not going to end well a lot of times. So it's kind of hard to predict the outcomes of that.
Yeah. So I think I understand pretty much like your point, but what I was really going after is like before now, when developers say like they want to learn many more things, let's say you're working on a particular feature and for the lack of another example right now, I would say you need to use NGRX in your app,
Which is not a
and you are
trivial
not
library
really.
to use, by the way.
I'm sorry.
It's not a trivial library to use. The whole observables mental model is quite different from everything else. You actually have to like understand it first before it even makes sense.
Exactly. So before now, I know like a lot of people will spend like quite some time to watch like videos or like look for blogs or like the entire process before you look for like study materials, or maybe you spend some time on Stack Overflow. If you're lucky, you can find something to solve your problem there. And these are the ways that people would do this before. But now, if you actually just ask one of these tools, now I think it's even more straightforward for you to figure out how to solve this type of problems. Something that might take you like few hours to understand, and now it's taking you like less than an hour, like within like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, you've gotten everything you wanted to know the steps you need and how to follow the steps. And to me, I felt like the entire world of software development tutorials and like blogs, this is like an industry in itself. And you can see some of the main players of the industry, say Free Code Camp or these the other guys on YouTube. And you can see I'm curious about how like this generative AI affects these industries.
Right, right. I see
Do
what you
they
mean.
continue to make do they continue to make 2 hours or 3 hours long videos or concepts that can be easily found with generative AIs in 15 minutes? And nobody even wants to sit 3 hours to watch a tutorial anymore. Like, I'll be honest, I wouldn't want to. You have to be saying something very interesting and like something really worth sitting through, because like to consume 4 hours. And at the end of the day, sometimes you even find these videos like with really um interesting titles, and then you find like the content of the tutorial is probably really basic and it doesn't solve your problem. You've not really learned anything much. And at the end of the day, at the end of the video, the person is directing you to their actual website where you actually go buy more of the course. So I'm just curious, like for me, it's a win because I can quickly finish my work, I can quickly find my knowledge. But does this kill this industry? And I'm also like, follow-up question is like the evolution of this generative AI, how much more does it change do you see it changing in software development industry?
Right. Yeah. This kills the crab, as the meme goes. Is it gonna kill that industry? Maybe. I think so. I guess the question is, why is everything in the industry these days? I'm kind of going on a tangent, but like you were talking about blogs, and I read this blog recently, and this person was saying, why is it that if you go online and you Google how to start a blog, the first 10 answers is going to be how to start a blog that makes you money, or how to start, like, what happened to just having a blog for sake of writing something you find interesting and for fun? Why does everybody have to be turned into industry for money making enterprise? Like, I have a blog, I just write to it occasionally things that I find interesting for myself. I'm not planning on turning it into a money generating machine. So the whole industry of tutorials, the fact that it's an industry is already kind of like, you're trying to, again, you're solving problems that people don't necessarily have. And you're not doing it out of the kindness of your heart. You're trying to do it to convert to some, I don't know, website or some subscription or some Patreon or whatever. And fair enough. Okay, people want to make money, people want to be compensated for their efforts, sure. But it's like, if I'm making a YouTube content for the purposes of monetizing it, and I know that it's gonna have better probability of getting monetized if it's longer than 15 minutes, I'm gonna water it down and pad the crap out of it just to make it cross that 15-minute threshold, even though that turns content to complete crap because you have that external incentive. Like, your incentive is not to produce quality content, your incentive is to make YouTube monetization algorithm happy. So if all of that goes away, I could care less. It wasn't really there for my benefit in the first place. That's kind of how I see it. Good riddance. Like, if it gets
You
rid of
know,
amount of all this crap that you have to sift through 3 hour thing for something basic, bye. Don't care.
yeah, yeah, it's true, but there are some guys, like, for example, there's this guy called Mosh Hamidani. He's really very popular. He makes he's one of the big guys in that industry, and I'm not even against them having an industry really, because
I'm not
they
against it
put the
either. I just don't care
they
for it.
because at the end of the day, it's still like it's like the educational institution, but online, you know. So I mean, they put a lot of effort into it, and then
Sorry, which person
um,
did you say it was?
Mosh Hamidani, that's his name.
Never heard about
He's quite popular anyway, but he makes good videos. That's the thing. He's really very talented, and as a teacher, so like
it.
when he's talking, you follow easily. And if I have to compare, really, even till now, like I would prefer to watch his tutorial because of his style of teaching, really. But after his videos, sometimes he makes his videos, the ones you find on YouTube, he make maybe like an hour, 20 minutes, an hour, 30 minutes. He's just gonna introduce the topic and give you a little bit, and at the end of the day, he directs people to his website, or maybe to buy the Udemy course or somewhere, all these things. But
Right.
and for me, like you said, maybe good riddance, because like you can find this information a bit more faster and then a bit more tailored to your problem. Because even with generative AI, you can actually ask the exact question instead of watching like the 3 hours video and then figuring out where
Mm-hmm.
your problem is in the
Yeah.
3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I was just curious about
Mm-hmm.
how how these industries will survive, because let's be honest, like
That's their problem, not ours.
let's
If
be
I were to
honest,
be
like
blunt.
I
I
mean,
still
yeah,
I still think that, the problem of authenticity still stands. Even a couple of days ago, like yesterday, I'm in these Telegram chats for this library that I'm using called Effector for wiring up business logic in your web apps. I really enjoy using it, by the way. It's really a lot of fun. And somebody asked if ChatGPT about derived fields or something like that, something that Effector does in a specific way, and it just wrote him a whole paragraph with code samples which were complete hallucinations of nothing to do with reality. I think one good thing with programming is that if that happens, you plug it in and it doesn't work. If you have experience, you'd be like, okay, the algorithm is being full of crap. It told me something that doesn't exist, and that's fine. I'll ask the question some differently. Maybe it'll give me a better answer. But if the person doesn't know, it's like going to Stack Overflow with some question, which I noticed a lot, especially with like Ruby on Rails, because that platform evolves very quickly. And there used to be a time where you go on Stack Overflow, ask some question that is Rails specific, and it gives you some answer that is about Rails. The only problem is that answer it's highly upvoted. The only problem is that answer is from 10 years ago for 3 versions of Ruby before and 5 versions of Rails before, and has nothing to do with anything that you have, and it completely does not work. And you're gonna spend like 40 minutes trying to figure out why it doesn't work. And I think with ChatGPT hallucinating things, it's gonna happen, and beginners are gonna be the worse off because they'll be like, well, what the hell? I'm doing everything this thing tells me to do, and nothing freaking works. And I know from experience that junior developers it's very difficult for them to establish causes for the errors that they're experiencing. Like one of the biggest thing is that they never read the error codes. That's the first thing. Like why bother reading what the error says? Doesn't work, right? Let's try something else. And so
We've all
for
been there.
them, it's going to be very difficult because they can't tell genuine article from non-genuine thing apart, and they're going to be wasting time trying to figure it out, right? And about education, do you know Sal Khan from Khan Academy?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, Khan Academy is very, very, very famous, right?
Yeah.
So the way that he started doing his videos is he told the story himself. I might not be fully correct in retelling it because it's been a while, but I think he was recording this video for his nieces that were in high school. So his goal was not to monetize the videos on some platform. His goal was to help his nieces get a better understanding of the things that they were going through in school and help them with their homework. And that's why it was so immensely popular, is because it was good quality content that solved a lot of people's problems, because it was designed to solve people's problems, not to come up with problems to then sell to people, so as a solution. And it shows,
Yeah.
right? And they have their videos on YouTube, but eventually they build their own platform, and it's very popular up until today. A lot of people are using it, even like for homeschooling and things like that. And I mean, I for fun just went through a whole bunch of like math exercises on Khan Academy, seeing like how far I can get. And it was really well done, and it's like the incentives for making the thing show in how it came out, because their goal was not to monetize it but to teach people skills. And
Yeah.
so again,
That's
if
true.
something like ChatGPT gets introduced in there and start hallucinating about laws of physics, it's going to be very confusing to the kids learning it, because they have no idea of telling these things. They're learning. By definition, they're not capable of knowing what the right answer is because they don't know, right? So as an aid, maybe. And again, the hand that's wielding the hammer, it has all of the crux of the problem is in that it's not the tool itself, it's who's using it and for what purposes.
Yeah, I agree with this. Like it depends on the person using it. Because now that I'm thinking about it, I think you're right with like the junior developer illustration, because you at least you need to know what you're asking, you need to know what you're looking for really, because even you depends like based on your level of experience to even search on Google or like
So
a
what
blog
what do you even
to know
search
exact
for?
what are you
Yeah,
even
you,
looking
you
for.
know you know
Yeah,
how many
that makes
people
sense.
experience the XY problem? I don't know if you're familiar, but like the XY problem is like a person has a problem X, they have tried solution Y that didn't work, and so they go to an expert and ask them about Y, where in fact
Yeah,
they should be asking
exactly.
about X, and then people don't understand the question, or they give some solutions that have nothing to do with the X, and everyone's like getting frustrated and confused. So a lot of times in my teaching experience, the first question would be, what is it exactly that you're trying to do? Like, are you asking the right questions to begin with? And in a lot of cases, people
Yeah,
don't ask the right questions. So even
yeah,
if ChatGPT didn't hallucinate, it can't prevent people from asking the wrong questions, and that's why sort of face-to-face apprenticeship style mentorship works best in a lot of cases, right? You can self-learn, that's true. Once you know enough, once you have the foundation and you know what questions to start asking. But if you're a complete beginner and you don't have a foundation, building it up by conversing with AIs, I would say it probably doesn't have a very high probability of success, just
I
based
agree.
on my
I see.
conversations with junior developers and complete beginners. They just don't know what the right questions are.
Yeah, yeah, I can see how that would be a problem too. I can
Hmm.
see it now because I was looking from my own perspective, but for sure, like for me, I know what I'm doing. Like I already know.
Hmm.
Um, um, I've been in the ages of like the Google search, so like I know what I'm looking for. But I was just thinking about new people who are coming in these days, and like they are also trying to find their their muscles
Mhm.
on how build their own work style. And maybe it will be the same because I remember like um earlier in my career too, like I used to consume a lot of tutorials. Like I know probably like a lot of tutorial guys on YouTube, like the good ones and then the bad ones. There are some people that when you see their video, you just don't waste your time because it's just basic,
Eventually,
you're
you
not really
kind of
gonna
get
learn
the
much.
nose for the bullshit, right? And you start
Yeah,
avoiding it.
like
Yeah.
yeah. So you just and sometimes you spend money to buy like tutorials on Udemy, and the title of the tutorial and like the first video seems very good, and you're excited, and like few videos in, you're like, this is not even what I'm looking for. Or you know what? This is what is annoying is like when someone wants to teach like a particular tool, and then you're like recording 48 hours of videos for something to learn this thing. Like who has 48 hours to consistently like I mean you can do it, it's good, but 48 hours like at
Yeah.
what point are you going to finish it?
It's a good point, but
48 hours of content.
yeah, learning is tricky because again, we talked about this when we were talking about like the content creation is like finding your
Mhm,
audience. It's just
mhm,
for like if you want to teach somebody NGRX, for instance, the framework that you mentioned, it has a
yeah.
lot of things in it. And somebody might need something simple. Oh, I just need to wire up a mouse move event stream of cursor
Mhm,
coordinates to this paint program that I'm building, right? And that's one
mhm.
thing, and that's trivial,
Okay.
and you can do it easily there. Or somebody made building like very complex business logic application where you have to have like all of these weird observable streams that you like combine and split and filter, and like you you can't tailor, like you have to make a lot of content hoping that somebody will find whatever they're looking for in there,
Yeah.
and that's hard, right? So maybe
Mhm,
summarization in this case is great. And actually I just remembered that I did use chat gpt. I was looking for a very specific typographical term that I just slipped my mind what it was called. Like I knew what it was, I just didn't remember the name, and I tried
mhm,
googling for it, and it was just completely useless. Like it would just give me all sorts of crap. And then I
mhm.
went to ChatGPT and I asked it the question, and it gave me some answers. Like, no, not this thing. It's actually this other thing. And eventually, it told me that. And as soon as I saw the word, I'm like, yes, that's the word I'm looking for. So I was like, thank you, ChatGPT. That was the word I was looking for, right? But the thing is, I already knew kind of, right? If it, so you need to have something before you come to it with a question, and you need to be able to tell
Exactly.
when it's legit or not. And if you already can tell if it's legit or not, that again becomes it's not your teacher, it's just a tool that you're using. So I think having a teacher can can AI be a teacher? Not yet. I don't think so.
Interestingly, to answer this question, I've seen it. I've seen there's this app. I don't know if it's functional. I cannot tell about the success rate, but I've seen it. Someone tried to do this. Use AI to be a teacher. Someone used it's called a Kiwik or so. Yeah. Maybe this is like an advertisement for them, but the it's called yeah Kiwik also if I'm not too wrong.
Mhm.
And the idea is that it uses AI to measure your level of understanding of the language, natural language. Like I mean, like languages like French, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
English, like
Spoken languages.
you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
spoken languages. Yeah. So um, it uses the AI to measure like you take some exercises and then the AI continues to measure your success rate, which like each test, and it keeps to on like increasing your um the content that it
I
supplies
guess
for
like
your learning
exposure
content.
to more advanced forms of content. Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. And to me, that was an interesting concept. And I've not seen any other tool like this, but
Hmm.
I thought like that was interesting. And I was thinking in that moment, like, how else is there even anything else like people or like the in tech industry now that cannot be um 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 made better or like improved with AI?
Right.
Because to me, I think it's an improvement. because like if you are able to subscribe to this as a
Mhm.
software as a service, as a you subscribe to this like $30 a month or
Yeah.
$40, depending on whatever. And I think that's much better than that's much economical,
Mm.
provided you are disciplined enough to follow it through.
Yeah.
It's more economical than going to a language school, for example, and then you pay like thousands of dollars to learn a certain language.
Yeah.
And
I think
and
some,
maybe
yeah, yeah.
and maybe this can be like um used in other ways too. So I was just really curious, like, does this also affect teachers? Because we also have like programming
Yeah,
teachers and all this kind of
I
thing.
should say something because for a casual observer, my position may be a little bit too out there. I should say that there are bad teachers. There are
Absolutely.
bad teachers that suck at their job, and maybe they teach people wrong facts or wrong well, I don't know if there is there such a thing as a wrong interpretation of a fact. Maybe, maybe not, but there are bad teachers out there, and AI might be at least better than those teachers, so that's already a win. And in terms of addressability of market, obviously a teacher, when I was a kid in my class, there was like 34 students, and that was a lot. Like the teacher had no time for personal interaction, and it's just not like if it's 10, 12 people, that works well, but 34 kids, that was nuts. But those were like 90s and a difficult time in
More now for sure.
well, I don't know. I haven't been in a school in a while, but the point I'm making is like one teacher can teach maybe 30 kids, AI can teach 30,000, 40, 50, a million, doesn't matter, right? So if it's better than bad teachers out there, that's already win. But again, and there's just so many questions that we don't have answers to right now. So like if I were to have kids, would I let AI teach them?
Would you?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, would I trust most school teachers teaching them these days? Hell no.
Yeah.
Obviously
Would you?
not. I would not. I now I'm thinking it's like it's gonna be homeschooling all the way because screw that noise, to be honest. With everything that's happening in North American schools, it's like no way in hell. I'd rather AI do it. I mean, it's gonna be biased and weird in some areas, but at least maybe those are easily identifiable, or maybe not. Maybe you cannot even identify them. But I'd rather use Sal Khan's videos than to do something else. To be honest. So I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I totally understand this concern, but because um it's I was saying earlier, like the numbers are more now, like during my postgraduate program, I studied Concordia software engineering, and like in a class, like somehow we had some classes where we had like 100 to 150 students,
Yeah.
and you were
Oh no
mentioning
no.
34 being a
I
lot.
meant I meant like middle school and high school setting, not like a
Ah, okay.
university setting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no. That's
Oh, because
middle school. Yeah,
because
yeah.
because in uni, like I can tell, like I can for
Well,
sure
uni it's
say
a
like it's a
lecture,
lot.
right? It's not like a classroom instruction. It's different. But I was just also thinking like if a good teacher can only address 30 kids, it's a bad thing. But if a bad teacher can only address 30 kids, that's a good thing, right? You don't want to spread shitty knowledge to
Absolutely.
more people, right?
Yeah.
So I guess the one
Yeah.
danger is amplification. It's like it's a good thing that AI can reach 300,000 kids simultaneously, but if it's
Mhm.
giving them bad information, then it's horrible because the amplification effect of that is massive, right? And that part is really hard to control too.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. But what I was trying to get to earlier was that I noticed that sometimes, like even in these classes, you notice like we all don't learn at the same rate, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So sometimes you notice like we don't have the same level of skill, and that's the entire purpose of school. School is to train. It's like
Base
a
level.
system. Yeah, exactly. Everyone should have the same knowledge, and then you just ship everything out like these people are trained to be these things, and because it's not equal, right, for
Yeah.
everyone. So I'm
Well,
thinking maybe there will be a way with AI to actually make sure everyone learns the same thing, and it's specific
I
the
think that's a good
learning.
point. I think that's a
Yeah.
good point. I mean, like pedagogy is among my interests, and that is a very valid thing. I think overall, again, other incentives, like school is not just for teaching people, it's essentially like a glorified daycare for families where both parents work. So again, that already puts
Yeah.
different priorities on things, right? It's like ultimately for most people, like you can teach somebody to read, write, do basic math and have some understanding of basic things about the world and the society they live in and a little bit of history in a couple of years. Like you don't need 10 years to teach people everything because not everybody's not going to learn everything. They only learn things they're interested in. And if they can learn things they're interested in on their own, why bother marinating them in school for 10 years? Give them the foundation in the first 3 and have at it, explore the world. It's massive and has a lot of interesting things in it. Instead, especially if you're gifted, you're just going to sit there bored out of your mind and it's just not good. I mean, I was, not to brag, I was a fairly gifted kid, I guess, in school, but it was not up to my pace. I was reading books in school because it was boring, you know and yeah, and like you have some kids who are, it takes them longer to get certain things, and everybody's marching to the pace of the slowest student in a class. And that's not to kind of put them down. Everybody learns at a different rate. I don't have a problem with that. But we're not sorted into classes by our learning ability. It's more arbitrary than that. So maybe you're right in this case, tailoring to your level, if you can just put people into groups where everybody is at their own level. But at the same time too, I remember listening to this interview with a fellow who started a school that is a completely different model compared to, the Austrian Austro-Hungarian military model that most schools are following today, like the factory model with the bell ringing and everybody's like trained to do shit.
Yeah.
And they're doing things completely differently. They organize people in groups of, well, first of all, kids of various ages are going to be in the same class, and there's like a natural hierarchy with older kids like taking care of younger kids and so on and so forth. Just completely different model. And I was listening to that interview and it's like, damn, if I was in a school like that, my life probably would have been completely different. So I don't necessarily think that isolating people by their skill level in the same group. Again, if everybody within the group is of the same skill level, like where's your inspiration? Like normally if you have somebody who's like a superstar, you'd be like, man, if you're well aligned and well adjusted, you'd be like, I want to be more like that guy. But if you don't have anybody like that in your surroundings because everyone's been segregated into these groups based on their learning ability, you just don't have that. Everybody's kind of at the same level, so where's the desire for improvement? It opens up
Yeah.
such a Pandora's box of various
Yeah.
things that,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's
Absolutely.
very interesting questions. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like with the last point you mentioned, the competitive part of it, of school.
Hmm.
I'm not even sure where I stand with it because um sometimes I think maybe people don't really, they're not honest enough to let their kids know that at the end of the day there is actual competition in school because
Yeah. And
um
I think a lot of people also they're not willing to accept the fact that 50% of people are going to be below average.
there is that too. So like I don't know if the information is if the kids that are actually in school have all the information that they need. So, for example, the reason why I was saying I'm not too sure about some things was just like, so I know that if you go to school to learn a certain at different levels, you learn certain things, and then they produce batches of people who have this skill. It's in batches. It's a system. It's machine. School is like just produce this
Yeah.
for the workforce, you know? And normally this this production should be even to some extent. But these days, what you notice is like there are a few. So for example, out of every graduate student, like there are a few who are like really good, and then there are others who will catch up later, and then there are others who actually completely drop off the line. Like they probably just pivot into something else that is actually their interest. So I'm thinking like if there's like a bit more tailored learning with like AI or like having um um more tailored process to education itself, maybe people will actually have the opportunity to learn the things that are actually interested. Because with these tools, with these generative tools, like you can learn. There's literally nothing, like there is not a lot of things that you cannot even learn about right now. And um, but to be in the engine, like in the system, I'm not even sure if it's working. Because when you're looking at the guy at the top, and yeah, you're thinking like you want to be now, it's a different type of mindset now. You're just like putting in effort to be like that guy. Fine, you probably get have more ease, or be have as much ease as the guy has, and like you feel fulfilled about your ambitions. But do you transfer this mindset into the real world? So now you're now out of school. You no longer have someone that you are looking to compete with now. Now it's a matter of you actually use what you learned to do your actual job, but you realize that you didn't really learn as much because you were just like passing exams.
Yeah.
And to go to school, it's easy to pass exams. Like, I mean,
Especially these days.
I used to, especially like I can say it for my own experience. Like up till today, I don't think that exams don't scare me as much as like being there are certain type of exams. Like I think like in tech these days you're writing some certain type of professional exams. There's not just like answering questions. You actually have to show that you know what you're doing. And the exams that used to be in schools when I was there, it's like, you know, it's something that you can easily just learn. Like if you have like a good memory, you probably don't even need to read as much or like study as much just to pass the exams. But in actual um um
Real life.
representation of your not yeah, in your actual life, like it's a different mindset, you know. So for me, I'm thinking like this competition to have like more A's, it doesn't usually lead to better worker. Like when you come out of the engine, like when you come out of the batch,
Yeah,
like
well, I mean, the state of education is and has been very precarious for a while, and that's like a whole other topic of discussion that has nothing to do with
absolutely.
software or IT
Yeah,
or anything like that.
yeah,
It just happens to
yeah.
be one of my sort of tangential interests, being a product of a machine of education where I really didn't want to be a part of that machine. And I like to think that all of my education is despite the schooling that I've been given rather than because of it. And again, you're saying, oh, generative AI will do this and will do that. Well, I mean, I didn't have generative AI, I didn't have internet, and I still managed to acquire knowledge. You say like there's nothing that you can learn out there. There's plenty you can learn out there. It's just people are these days lacking the
Can't.
skills and desires.
I said can't learn. Maybe I didn't say it very well. Like there's not a lot of things that you cannot learn with
Oh,
this.
okay, yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. The information is out there. I mean, there's way more crap out there as well. So again, there's that problem of discrimination. It's like, how do you know what's good and what's not if you don't know? If you don't know, you don't know, right? So still the role of a teacher is maybe not to be there for the rote memorization and regurgitation of facts, but the teacher should be the person that can discriminate what is good information versus what is not good information. And I don't mean it in like some subjective sense. It's like facts versus narratives. And these days, again, it's all very complicated. Education has gotten extremely political. The schools are more likely to produce some sort of activist compared to a well-adjusted person that knows how to live their life. So that's one of the reasons why I don't really want to send my potential kids to school, is just because it's not worth it, you know. And I've been through a school. I've been through three schools up to high school. I mean, well, broadly speaking, two. In the first grade, I was in one school, and then second grade, I went to another one that was sort of fancy and posh. That kind of destroyed my will to be part of school system and education system in general. And then the last one, I went in the ninth grade after I moved yet again. It managed to undo a little bit of that. Um, but ultimately, I did not have a good experience. I mean, maybe I had good time because, you know, I had friends and I was clowning around and just getting up to shenanigans and various other things. And now, you know, looking back, you tend not to remember all of the bad things and you kind of remember the highlights. So, like, looking back, I can look at my school days and be like, oh, yeah, that was pretty good. But if I start digging a little bit more, it's like, man, that was abysmal. It was just not good time at all. And I wish I had alternatives for this system. And I think AI or no AI, it doesn't really matter. It still depends a lot on a person itself because, you know, not as I don't know if it's necessarily sad, but I was gonna say, as sad as it is, like not everyone is destined for greatness, and that's okay. And you know, there's this big focus on, oh, everybody must have a great academic career. Everybody must go to university. Does everybody need to go to university? I don't think so. I think a lot of people will
Mm.
have way more fun not going to university. Like go to trade
Absolutely.
school. You know how much tradesmen make? You know how much those people make? Like, yeah, it's not prestigious or whatever, but holy shit, did they make a lot of money or what? Like, there's very few young plumbers these days, and everyone's toilet's gonna leak at some point. And 30 years down the line, where all the old guys retire and there's no quality plumbers, you're gonna be a millionaire doing plumbing if you're good with it and know what you're doing. Yeah, you're dealing with like human excrement, which is not fun, but you know, like so, it's a
To be
job.
honest, to be honest, like about that, to be honest, like I don't think there should be any form of this job should not be described like this because they are also very
Necessary,
essential.
yeah.
Because if you really look at it, we are all doing the same thing. We are all selling a particular skill. Like if you the skill that you can solve that you're selling is this with your hands, like maybe
But
in the office.
I think there's this
It's the
narrative
same.
of uh, making certain classes of jobs appear dumb and unappealing. It's like every time you see a plumber on TV, it's going to be some fat guy with the plumber's crack sticking out of his trousers, you know, fixing
Yeah,
something
yeah,
under the sink.
I see that point.
You know,
Yeah,
it's just how it's portrayed. It's a bad stereotype, and it's like,
yeah,
yeah, you know, if you're gonna lean over, your crack is gonna show because your pant seam is short. Like whatever, it's not the
yeah.
point. They're making like a qualitative judgment about somebody just by their profession,
Mm.
which, you know, I think
Yeah.
that type of behavior was out of vogue these days. And yeah, if you ever watched Mike Rowe's Dirty Jobs, where he's like doing all of these dirty jobs. Oh, it's a great show. You should check it out. He's basically going for like all of the nastiest jobs out there and like talking to all of these people, like all of the tradesmen, like mostly like blue collar work,
Okay.
because like everybody wants to be a doctor or a lawyer because it's glamorous and pays a lot of money, but we still need everybody else too. And I think that on in the cultural space, the fact that these jobs are being laughed about is not great. So, and you know, any person, any work, like I have respect for any working person, regardless of their occupation. It's just like they're necessary. I mean, I'm not gonna be like, well, I'm a software engineer with a six-figure salary, and you work at McDonald's. It's like, no, you know, it still it takes dedication and skill to work at McDonald's. Like,
Exactly.
You know, like nothing wrong
Exactly.
with that. I don't know why suddenly it became
Yeah.
something to be ashamed of. And yeah, this it's not healthy for society to just shit on these types of jobs because like what, you don't want any plumbers around, you don't want any electricians around, you don't want any builders around. Like, where are you gonna live? Who's
Yeah.
gonna heat your home, and who's gonna, you know, provide you with water and electricity if you keep making fun of all of these people? If they just quit one day, all of them at once, our civilization will be over. So don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I agree with you. I agree with you. So anyway, so these are all the things I wanted to discuss with you today. And thank you again for your time, Vasily. It's always really nice chatting like this. I enjoy doing this with you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you, Mo. It's been a lot of fun. We haven't had a chance to record one of those for various reasons, so I'm glad to be back. It was a really good conversation today. I think we went into some tangential topics that are very, very pertinent to today's world.
Yeah,
And yeah,
really.
I can't wait for the next one. So thank you, everybody, if you are here with us still. Please, you know, subscribe and join the Telegram channel, and it would be interesting to talk to you there. Yes, hopefully episode 14 will be released sometime later. Maybe I'll manage to fix the audio issue. I can't fix the audio issues. It's just ruined. I just have to re-record some voice over. I don't know. Hopefully I'll get to that. But yeah, thank you for spending your time with us, and I hope everybody has a great day. Bye.